man who, or the poorest queer Filipino newcomer. You know what I mean? Like, ultimately, who you are and your beliefs, they come out. And I think as a professional, right? Even the word professional, it's like you're supposed to be professional. What does that mean? You're supposed to leave your identity and your perspectives at the door. Like, all of a sudden, like, hey, what's up? I'm Filipino. I was like, oh, but I'm teaching you now, and I am this raceless, beliefless person. And I am, I think that's ridiculous to think. But I think people really do believe that. And that's when it becomes really dangerous, because I can walk into a room and just know that, yeah, my perspectives are going to come out as a teacher, right? As a musician, they definitely come out. I let it all out. But I think it's really dangerous to think like, oh no, I'm really professional and I'm being completely fair right now. It's not true. Our biases will always come out. And when you sort of deny that and you think that, oh, I'm being, 100% objective, you're lying to yourself. It's like the media saying they're completely unbiased. It's an impossibility. Like, bias is everywhere. And does it come out? Yes. Do I try and be fair? Absolutely. I was actually speaking about race in one of my classes earlier, last semester. And I really tried my hardest to represent both sides. And you have to as a teacher. Because actually what you want your students to do is to be able to think critically. And they can't think critically if you're just giving them one side and expecting them all to just believe it and, be a parrot and repeat it back. But is that hard? Yes. Is it perfect? No. I'm completely honest with my students, and I'll tell them, hey, this is what I believe. This is what other people believe. This is why they're right. This is why I can be wrong. This is why I think I'm right. And, you try your best to sort of do that. And before all that, I do my best to ask my students a lot of questions and kind of see where they're at. And I think that kind of helps counter it. But ultimately, I can't deny that stuff comes out. It's in everything, in the way what I choose to teach, and how I choose to teach it, in the examples I choose, in my approach to teaching it. It's there. In music, it's even more so. I don't have to worry as much. I don't worry as much. I try not to worry as much. And I just sort of, like, this is my space to just let it out, through art, through music, and to just let folks know the stories that I think I would like for people to hear, without worrying about being fair or all that stuff.
Okay. Here's another big question.
Oh, this is one of the big questions.
Yeah.
Intersection of race, politics, and economics?
Yeah.
Okay.
One of those.
Uh-huh.
How do you think we can best improve the current situation of racism, inequality, and social justice in our community today?
How can we do that? Bottom line is that people need to be involved. And that sounds so corny and so simple, but I really do think that's what needs to happen. But there's a whole lot of things that need to happen in order to make that a reality. And what does it mean to be involved? Well, to figure out what's happening in your community, to acknowledge it, to assess it, to recognize it, and then to share it with people around you, and then say, hey, can we work on this together? Okay, sounds easy, takes time. Can everybody do that? If you are a working parent who has to worry about getting your kids to school and then picking them up at the right time and then making sure that you're cool at your job and that you're working towards getting a promotion so that you can do better next year, you're worried about everything. What are we going to do this weekend? What are we going to eat? What's Johnny going to do when Johnny's old enough to go to college and we can't afford it? There's just all these things that real people have to think about. And the trick is, how do you get people involved when they're involved in life and they're sucked up in life? that's tough, and part of that is, as for those of us who are kind of already there, acknowledging that there are issues to be addressed, and are willing to take the time and put in the effort and the energy and focus, prioritize this aspect of stuff more so than maybe our professional lives or whatever. As those sort of elements within our society who acknowledge there are problems, we need to do our best to, I think, serve the community and gain their trust and show them, like, hey, we really want to, we're doing this because we want to help. We're doing this because we want to make your life better. We're doing this so that you can have a little bit more time with your kids. Or we're doing this so you don't have to worry about what, Joy is doing after school and with whom. We're so simple things as providing an after school program where they don't have to worry if Joy's out running with a gang or if Joy's out doing things she shouldn't be doing. Building trust, communicating with the parents, maybe even helping them navigate things. We were talking about college earlier. Helping them navigate the school system so that they understand, your student, if you really want them to go to college, and if you're really trying to get them to improve their life by having an education that maybe you didn't have, you have to understand that you don't automatically, just because you're in America, get into college. They're the A through G's. These are the classes you need to do. As a parent, you need to advocate for your student. Simple things like that. Providing services that are tangible to them, that they understand. As an activist, right, as an organizer, as a person of conscience, there are things that I do care about, like the war, like what's happening in the Philippines, these sort of like big picture, global perspective things. And I would love for my community, my students, their parents, to care about these things as well. So does that mean I walk up to the parents like, hey, nice to meet you, Miss Sanada. Did you know that in the Philippines, blah, blah, blah? I'm like, no, I can't do that. Because she's thinking about what's going to happen on the day-to-day. And part of that is just building that relationship, building that trust, and helping them see that what happens to them on the day-to-day affects some of these larger issues. But, I don't know, getting people involved sounds easy, but it's not. For those of us, and since this is for a college class, for those of us that have a little bit more privilege, who have had the privilege to be able to get to college, who have had the privilege to be able to take classes where they're talking about these kinds of issues, talking about their community, learning about so many things, I feel, as one of those persons, right, I graduated from college and learned some of these things, we do have a responsibility to, as corny as it sounds, give back to our community. And you're lucky enough to get that education. You know what? Apply it. Take it back to your community and serve. Whether it, I don't know what the form is. We all sort of pick our way of giving back, but we have to. It wasn't too long ago that many of us, like Asians here in the United States and other people of color, weren't allowed in many of the institutions of higher learning. I think we've kind of forgotten that. I think a lot of us have forgotten that. I think there's a whole lot of reasons why that's been forgotten, and I really applaud professors and students who are trying to continue that tradition. So for those of you that are in college, that are learning all these things, that are turned on, that are upset about things, that are learning about things that you never talked about in high school, and you gotta do something with that information. Don't just let it be for you and you feel better about yourself and you're done. No. And I challenge people, I know this is going to be tough to hear, but I challenge people not just to leave college, get a great job and then do well for yourself. I challenge people not just to do that. I'm not saying that that's bad, but I challenge people to do a little bit more. If that's you, then great. But then maybe volunteer at a center or give regular donations to the Awana Cultural Center. Or, go beyond this whole idea of the perfect American dream and help in whatever way you can.